Today we're going to do a full install of a Mac Air 2-piece system in a 2021 Can-Am X3. Alright, first let's get started by taking the passenger seat out of your X3. Remove the front two bolts that hold the seat in place and then go around behind, and there's two big nuts that you have to take off to get the seat out. Once you get those nuts off, you'll pull the harness out of the seat, and then you can just pull the seat straight up and bring it out of the vehicle. Now that the seat is out, it's time to prep that bumper housing before you install it. Steve Gonzalez is going to show you what you need to do.
All right, to clean the nozzles on your pumper system, just take some rubbing alcohol. I like to use a microfiber cloth and just wipe around the entire nozzle. You want to get any manufacturing residue off. Make sure there's no oils or grease on there. That'll help your pumper hose stay nice and tight, won't come off.
With your pumper housing all prepped and ready to go, let's get those bar mounts on there so that you can attach it to that center bar between the seats. These are a 2.5-inch bar clamp. Make sure you get the Allen screw that tightens it down facing up so that it's easy to tighten once you get it in your X3 and between the seats. With the mount tightened to the pumper housing, you can go ahead and take those screws out for the upper part of that C-clamp. Bring it over to the center bar, get it positioned about where you want it, and then start those Allen screws back into the mount itself. As you can see, this is why I wanted the upper part of that C-clamp with that single bolt up on top so it's easy to get to. You're going to want to make sure that those screws are really tight so that it compresses that C-clamp around that bar and holds it solid in place. With the pumper motor secured to the bar, it's time to grab the filter and prep it before you install.
First thing you want to do before you start cleaning your filter, one, turn off your air compressor. You do not want to blow compressed air through your filter, it'll damage it. Second, put this away. K&N is a great company, it makes great oil, but you don't want to use it on a helmet pumper system. Okay, now we're going to go over washing the pumper filter. Instructions are on the back of the card that comes on top of the filter. So pull the filter off the pumper. If there's any debris on the filter, you want to tap it gently. You don't want to smash the pleating here. Just get all the big stuff off. Next, you want to take some soapy water, dish soap, a mild detergent just like that. Dunk it all the way in, make sure it's all the way underwater, and then just agitate in a circular motion. You want to do that in both directions. What that's going to do is loosen all the material, all the debris, get it off of the pump, off of the filter. Next thing you want to do is rinse the filter from the inside out. You don't need a ton of pressure. You don't want to damage the material. You just want to rinse it. Again, inside out, shake it out, set it down, let it dry, and that's it. You're good to go. Pre-filter, super easy. Dunk it in water, give it a little rinse, you're done. This thing's super easy to clean. You can also keep backups so you can just swap them off and on as needed. That's it, you're all set.
All right, with that pumper filter all clean, you can go ahead and slide it back on and then tighten down the hose clamp that keeps it affixed to the top of the pumper itself. After the filter's tight, you can grab the pre-filter and just slide it over the top of the filter in place. You're good to go there. Now we'll grab the VSC, which is a variable speed controller. Find a good place on the dash to mount it. We're using Velcro on it. That way we can take it on and off. I went right below the start button on the bottom of one of our mounts. If you don't have one of our radio systems in, you can find anywhere on the dash to put this. It also comes with a couple of screws, so if you need to just screw it into the plastic, you can. Okay, with the seat out and the variable speed controller installed, it's time to pull that center side of the console out. It's pretty easy. You can get behind it, just pull, it comes right out. Here again, if you have one of our radio systems, you'll need to pull the side panel on the passenger side off so you'll have access to run those cables through with the variable speed controller. Now you can pull on that front panel, get it loose. You will pull it out of the way to gain access to reach around the back to run both the power cable and the VSC controls that go up to the pumper itself. There's a grommet right underneath there. You can run both both cables through there to plug into the variable speed controller. They are two different plugs, so you can't get them mixed up. So once you get the VSC control going to the pumper through, go ahead and run that power cable through the same place as well, and then bring it over and plug it into that VSC. All right, with both of the cable harnesses run, it's now time to secure them down in that console. We use our R-wraps, which are a double-sided Velcro. They're great because they're reusable, and it makes all the cabling serviceable without having to cut a bunch of zip ties. We tie down the front and then take the harness that goes to the pumper and go ahead and plug it in now so that we can route it from the pumper forward and tie it down where it needs to be. Again, here's the use of our R-wrap. You wrap it around the cable itself and then go around the bar or tab that you're going to attach it to. Once we get the R-wraps on that upper bar, we use P-clips to secure the cable running down the firewall itself. It's just real easy to use and they won't come off. So you wrap the P-clip around the cable, and then we use little screws and just screw it into the plastic away from that centerpiece on the center firewall, because that comes out to perform service to the engine behind. We used one upper P-clip and one lower P-clip to secure the cable to the firewall, just to keep it from getting caught on things as you're riding and you have sweatshirts and that kind of thing you put behind the seat. Once you get those screwed in, you can run that cable into that center console and start tying up that cable. We ran it this way so that we could do a big loop of the excess cable and tie it into that center console so it's not visible and it's out of the way. So once you get it wrapped up with one of our R-wraps, you can just wrap it around that harness. It'll keep it secure and in place, and if you ever need to service anything in there, it's super easy to get back out. All right, with that harness tied in, it's time to work on the power and ground. So the cables are a little long, so we have to cut them a little shorter. There's a bus bar that sits right in the middle, right behind that shifter in that center console. We cut the cables down, added a couple eyelets to them in the right length, and then ran the ground would be the upper terminal, and then we ran the power to the lower terminal, which is actually an auxiliary terminal that turns on and off with the start button. With the power and ground secured in place, go ahead and put that protective cover over the top so that we don't get any arcing or anything underneath the center console. With that back on, you can go ahead and start reassembling the center console. Start with the front first. The two front tabs actually have to slide all the way in. It takes a little bit of finesse, but once you figure it out, it's fairly straightforward. With that lower panel on, you can go ahead and put on the side panel for the rugged system if you have it. Once you get those screws in it, go ahead and work on putting that rear piece back in. Again, it sets down in and then snaps in place. With that center console all put back together now, you can go ahead and grab that passenger seat and put it back in the X3. So it's basically just the reverse of how you took it out. You want to set the seat in there, slide it back, get it lined up with the rear two studs, and then let it down in the front. You'll grab the bolts that go across the front, slide them in place. You kind of got to wiggle it around a little bit, but it will go back in. Once you get those in, you can go around to the rear, put the two big nuts back on, and tighten the seat back into place. Now it's time to prep those pumper hoses before we put them on the pumper.
Same thing as the nozzle on the pumper. Take some rubbing alcohol, take the hose, clean the inside, make sure it's nice and clean, remove any residue, dirt, dust, whatever. Get this thing clean so it sticks nice and tight to your pumper.
Now that you've prepped your pumper hoses, it's okay to slide them on the pumper itself. Push them on and then give them a couple twists and shove them up as far as you can. Once you get them on there, then you can start to route them behind the seats. The R-wraps work really well on the pumper hoses because they don't cut into the hose, and you can just have them to where they wrap around the bar, they hold the hose in place, but they don't cause any damage to the hose if they get pulled on. The other thing too is you can take them off, reposition them, and put them back on if need be, if you don't have them quite in the right spot. Most pumper helmets have the nozzles on the helmets either on the left cheek side of the helmet, or they're a top air or a mid air, but it's usually on the left side. So keep that in mind when you're putting your hoses in. Make sure they run over the left side of the driver and the co-driver, just so it's easy access to grab that hose and hook it up to your helmet. Okay, once you finish up by getting all of the hoses all secured to the cage and draped over your left side, your install is complete. It's time to turn that blower on, plug it into a helmet, and go out and ride with your buddies. Thank you for purchasing the Mac Air system from Rugged Radios. We really appreciate your business. If you have any questions or comments, please give us a call here at the office. We'd love to help you out.